Hello, I'm Refashionista Sheri, and if you have a generous chest like me, you absolutely know the struggle of button-down shirts. Or is it button-down shirts or is it button-up shirts? I don't know. It doesn't matter, but the struggle is real. You're either dealing with gapping buttons, or you look like kind of a stuffed sausage crammed into the shirt, or even worse, you just can't make it look pretty at all. So today I have 8 tutorials just for you to transform those button-up or button-down shirts into things that you actually want to wear and you are proud to say, thanks, I made it, or I refashioned it, however you want to word it, doesn't matter. But this actual compilation tutorial was inspired by a lovely viewer who wrote into my Refashionista Refashion Request form, which I'll link down below, and I've created a whole video just for her, so be sure to stick around to the end where I am going to transform this lovely lilac man's button-down shirt into something that I actually want to wear just for you, crafty and chic.
We're starting off back in 2013 with my super simple method for adding sleeves to those thin strapped dresses and tops. So first, grab a dress or a top with thin straps, and this one I actually dyed it because I wasn't too fond of the pattern or the color. Then you want to grab a men's button-down shirt that coordinates with your dress or top, cut off the sleeves and collar from the shirt, then pop those sleeves into the dress straps or armholes, and of course go stitch them on very, very carefully. Then you can grab the collar if you want and add it to your fantastic new dress. Pop it on and enjoy.
Oh, excuse me. There's nothing I like better when I'm feeling under the weather than popping on my cozy flannel night dress and curling up in bed with a few good books until I feel better. So today I figured, why not show you how to put together your very own cozy flannel night dress for when you're lounging about and in need of a bit of snuggly comfort.
This part of the video is getting a fancy new voiceover because the sound quality was terrible. So of course all you need are 2 flannel shirts, scissors, and your sewing gear. First, you need to decide which shirt you want to be the top of your nighty dress, and then go ahead and simply stitch down from the last button so it's not flippy flapping around. Grab the other shirt and chop the bottom of that shirt off to create the extra length for the first shirt, and you can use as much or as little as you want. This one also stitch down from that bottom button so it's not flippy flapping around, and pop them together with right sides facing and then go stitch it all together. And as always, I like to do a tight wide zigzag over that outside seam for extra strength. And you know what? You could be totally done right now, but of course I wasn't done because I still had that other top of a flannel shirt, and I decided I want to make this more patchwork looking. So I went ahead and chopped off the sleeves of my original top shirt and then used the chopped bit as the template to chop off the sleeves of the remaining shirt. And then I simply popped those together to create some adorable patchwork sleeves.
So what do you think? Super cool, cozy comfort for those days when you just don't want to get out of bed. This is absolutely perfect, and it has really cool cuffs here that actually need cufflinks. So we're also going to make some cute little cufflinks, and you know what? Let's transform this into a dress right now.
For this oh so quick and super duper cute project, all you need is a incredibly oversized men's button-down shirt plus a dress or a top that fits you loosely to use as a template. So the very first thing we need to do, as always, is remove the sleeves. And we're going to chop the sleeves off as close to this original seam as we can, and we're going to leave that original finished edge on the armhole. So clearly I have the sleeves off, and this is very, very big, so we're gonna have to take it in. Now, just looking here, I can see that the length is pretty perfect, which is fantastic, so I don't gotta remove anything or add anything to the bottom, but we do have to take in the sides, and there's two ways to do that. The first way is to simply kind of pinch it and put a pin in it to where you would like the sides to be. And now for the second method, which is my favorite method, let's go back to the table. So you can see here I have my shirt laid flat, and I have my little bit oversized template dress placed on top of that. Now I always like to try to use a template garment that is similar looking to the garment I'm working on. Like this has a collar, that has a collar, the shoulder seams are similar, just so it makes it easier to line everything up when I'm using my template garment. So over here I have marked onto my shirt with a couple of centimeters of seam allowance the general width that I would like my finished dress to have, of course using this dress width as the template, as the measurement. Very, very easy. So now I'm just going to stitch straight down from my mark on the armhole to create my new side seam. Once you have that all stitched, then simply go and remove that excess fabric from the side. So I have now folded my shirt in half as evenly as I could, and I'm going to use the first stitched and chopped side to mark out the area I need to stitch and chop on the other side. Very, very easy. I can go right from where my stitch is here and pop my pin. And now I'm going to go repeat the whole stitching and chopping process on this side. So now I highly recommend popping on your nearly done dress and checking that, the width is to your liking. And this is absolutely perfect. I want this to be a loose and comfy, easy breezy fit, so it's great. Now we got to figure out what we're going to do with the sleeves, right? Now, of course, you can just take the sleeves in a little bit and attach them again if you want to have long sleeves. I do not. I think I want to do like 3/4-ish sleeves. And if you remember, these cuffs actually require cufflinks, so I have to make myself a couple pairs of those for the sleeves as well. So we'll do that in a minute. But first, let's sort this out. So I'm popping my sleeve on here, and I just am gonna kind of line up my cufflink area here to make sure that I can get it, around my arm still. And that's just about perfect, that length there, I think. So I'm gonna just feel where is that seam, and I got a pin here, and I'm just gonna pop my pin in, trying not to poke myself. And there, I have now marked the sleeve, and now I can go chop it to size and stitch it back on. So now I'm going to take my chopped sleeve and simply use it as a template to chop out my other sleeve, making sure I have everything lined up here. Yes, and chop. So I have my shirt inside out, and I have my sleeve right side out, and now I'm just going to pop them together. And as you noticed, I'm sure I did chop the sleeve on the original angle that it had, and because I did chop the sleeve and I already took in the sides, let's have fingers crossed that they're actually gonna fit together nicely, and I won't have to do very much gathering. But if I do have to, that's okay, because I like having little gathers up at the top. Okay, so I have the under seam here of my sleeve, and I'm going to line that up with the under side seam here of the shirt, like so, and pin that together. And now let's see if it's gonna go nicely together. Not perfectly, but that's okay. I can have some little gathers up at the top, just like I did with my other kind of shirt downsize that I shall link down below for you so you can see what I did there. So I ended up gathering everything together. Those two little pin tucks, I just put them one on top of the other, and everything is nicely lined up now. So let's go stitch it together and then repeat the whole process on the other side. Okay, I have both sleeves stitched on, and you know, this is like the last step here, really. So let's check them out, flip everything. Okay, seriously, that really did work with my little mini pleats here. Yeah, on both sides. That's great. Okay, oh, you know, I was just thinking, and I don't know, should I leave the collar on? Or should I chop off, you know, the top part of the collar here, which then, you know, leaves it kind of like those rather awesome Nehru jackets, you know, that type of Nehru collar. Let me know down below what you think, if I should leave the collar or chop it off and then have that kind of added bit of interest in the collar area. Let me know. Anyway, oh right, totally forgot. We need to do those little cufflinks. And I'm just looking at my scraps here, and I had a thought, because I don't really want to sew anymore. So my original idea was to take a couple of buttons and just kind of stitch with embroidery thread. You know, that's something, I do have a really, really oldie but goodie tutorial on my blog about that, so I shall link that down below for you. But just looking at this little seam here, what if I chopped out those seams and then just kind of tied off where the cufflinks should be? Let's give that a try.
So I simply folded over my cuffs and then fed my little scrap of fabric through the 4 buttonholes, which were meant for the cufflinks, and then tied it off in a loose but firm double knot. Awesome.
Another triumph of cuteness, I think. Now, this does look great without a belt and just like with some sneakers, but I really do like it better, you know, belted with my cool 80s belt and my awesome vintage earrings here and the sunglasses. It just really ties it all together. Oh, of course, and with the tights, right? Always gotta have the colored tights as well. Okay, this, I just blew a button here of this blouse. Okay, I'm gonna go check. You can see here. This blouse, it's very tight. I've had this since 2016 and I love it. And I don't know if anyone else is experiencing this, but as I'm getting older, my chest is just getting bigger and it's really, really annoying me. So, yeah, I'm gonna go change quickly and I'll be right back. Okay, you are not gonna believe this. Went up, put on another blouse, and yeah, this one as well, you can see here, is pulling. It's pulling open here. So I guess we have our tutorials for today. 2 ways to upsize shirts. Let's get to it. Yeah, I think those 2 fabrics will look fantastic together, a little bit of pattern mixing. So I'm just gonna steal this tea towel and use it to upsize this blouse. For these 2 awesome ways to upsize your shirts, all you need are your 2 small shirts, your insert fabric, because that's how we're making them bigger. You gotta add fabric, right? So clearly, for the striped black and white one, I'm using my polka dotted tea towel. And for the black embroidered one, I thought I would add some cool vintage lace. So I'm going to start with the black one because it doesn't really need as much upsizing as the other one. So I'm going to add a cute little back insert with my lace. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've grabbed here just like a storage box lid, and it is about the same kind of width as the shoulders of this blouse. The blouse has also been turned inside out.
So I'm just going to kind of make this storage box lid here wear the blouse so I can have a nice flat surface here to work on. I mean, you can use anything, a piece of cardboard, a cutting board, I mean, whatever you have on hand that is about the same kind of shoulder width or length here as your blouse. So next, I am grabbing my piece of lace, and like I said, I only need maybe a centimeter or two to kind of give me enough space to close the buttons in the front nicely, because it's really only one button that is the issue here. And I've placed my lace on the back of the blouse now, and I'm kind of, I think it's like around this area, or maybe it's actually under the underarm seams where it's most needed. So that's perfect how I've positioned that. So now I'm going to pin it in place with the right side of the lace facing the wrong side of the shirt. So now I have my lace pinned in place. I'm going to grab a little piece of chalk and kind of sketch out, to the best of my non-artist ability, the shape that I want my insert to have. And I think for me, I mean, the easiest is always a heart. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for here. So now I'm just going to stitch my lace to my shirt, following my kind of guideline here as best I can. And yeah, then we'll move on to the next step. So now that my lace is all stitched on, I'm going to really, really carefully go and trim off all of the excess lace. I'm cutting as close to the seam as I can, and don't worry, we are going to make this super sturdy in just a couple more steps. So now I have all of the excess lace chopped off, and of course I shall be adding this to my scrappy stash. Now we're going to flip it around, and you can absolutely see where you're going to be following the exterior seam and chopping out this panel of fabric from the original blouse. And I mean, it's very easy to do that. You're just gonna kind of cut through, making sure, of course, that your lace piece is very far away from where you are cutting, because you don't want to cut through, you know, anything you don't want to cut through. And again, with this kind of stuff, just go slow, you know, take your time. Put on a series in the background, binge something while you're trimming fabric. This looks pretty darn fantastic just as it is, and is absolutely going to give me that centimeter or two of extra stretch on the back that is needed to kind of pull around to the front, so those buttons don't, you know, don't pull apart anymore in the front. Now, you can totally be done right now, but I like to go around and just do a top stitch all around this kind of trimmed up area, just kind of trapping it with a really tight, wide zigzag or satin stitch. So I'm going to go do that.
This came out so well. I mean, again, better than I had expected. You can see here, look, absolutely, even if I put my arms way, way back, there is no pulling of the button here. That, I mean, problem totally solved. So, would you like to see? Let's take a look here at the back. I put on a pink tank top so you can see it better. But it is, I mean, it's comfortable, it looks great, and like I said, this is like, seriously, even really far, I have to go really far back with my shoulders for it to start even pulling the tiniest bit. So, success. This absolutely worked.
Now next, let's add some side panels to this lovely ruffly striped blouse. So yeah, so I can actually comfortably wear it. So I think if I have my tea towel folded in half like so, and then in half again, that should be about the perfect size for each of my side panels. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut my tea towel in half as evenly as possible. And I think because, I mean, you can see it's already starting to fray here because this is like cotton linen, I am going to, yeah, use this whole thing for each side, and I'm gonna make it into a nice tube and then flip it right side out so I can then avoid any frayed edges here. So you can see before I stitched the raw edge together here, I did go ahead and I chopped off those big bulky seams, but I did leave the one on the bottom because this can be the finished edge of my side of the blouse. And yeah, then I don't have to faff around finishing off the seam there because it's already done. So this one I have flipped right side out to show you guys how it should look, and you want your seam to be going along the back side. This is a side that will be facing towards your body. Now, next comes the step that I hate this. This is like torture for me. Does anybody else absolutely despise ironing? I don't know why I hate this so much. Maybe it's something from chores from my childhood. I am not sure, but I really, really cannot stand ironing. But sometimes, you know, when you want a project to come out really nice, it does help to have those crisp, clean edges to stitch along. So that's why, you know, I'm biting the bullet and I'm ironing. Let me know down below if you are a fan of ironing, or if you kind of feel the same way as I do about, you know, this hot little torture device here. So now it is finally time to grab our blouse, and you want it to be inside out, and you are literally just going to chop up both sides from the bottom hem straight up through the sleeve hem. And that should, seriously, it's just one straight chop. So I just noticed that my seams here are going to chop out a lot nicer and cleaner if it's folded in half. So that's what I'm going to do. So now we have a blouse with the sides totally chopped out. Now we're going to grab our fabric inserts and pin them in place. Because I'm using this finished bottom for my bottom hem, that's how I'm going to arrange it. I'm going to start with the bottom hem to bottom hem and the right sides facing and pin in place, making sure that my edges are as evenly lined up as possible. This blouse is a little bit of a tailored fit, so I kind of am going to have to go on a bit of a curve here. Before I trim off the excess and hem it up here, I'm going to stitch it on just to be absolutely sure that I'm not going to end up chopping off too much. So as you can see, it is absolutely perfectly stitched on, and I mean, this pattern this is going to look fantastic when it's finished. I'm so pleased. So now I just got to repeat the whole process here on this other chopped edge. And here's where you really, really have to make sure that you are stitching the correct sides together. I'm going to go stitch this together, and we'll be back. And both sides of my panel are now stitched on. This actually, I mean, look at that. That looks so cool. I'm so pleased with this. Now it's time to sort out here the sleeve underarm. And you can see I just kind of stopped stitching just about a centimeter away, and that is so I can trim off this excess and then fold it under and stitch everything together so it kind of has a really similar line here at the sleeve cuff. So I'm just going to chop straight across here, and I'm going to give myself about 2 centimeters for seam allowance and folding under. Okay, and this is actually already a nice little tube, so that can go in my stash and be, you know, used for something that I need a fabric tube for. So now I did bust out my iron again and folded this under so the fray is not going to happen. And yeah, now I'm just going to go stitch straight across and probably all the way around the sleeve just to make sure everything is going to stay in place. And voila, it is stitched together all the way down. Now I gotta go repeat the whole process on the other chopped side.
La la! How fantastic did this come out? Look at those gorgeous side panels. 4 delightful dude shirts into an awesome patchwork dress. But before we jump into the DIY, be sure to leave me a comment down below and let me know what kind of videos you want to see, if you have specific tutorials and DIYs, refashions you're interested in, or whatever the heck else you'd like me to create for you, let me know. Plus, of course, throw a like, subscribe, and share with your online circles. And let's get everyone living a more rockin' refashionista lifestyle. Now let's get making.
For this totally adorable project, all you need are a few button-down shirts and your sewing gear. Next, you need to decide which one of your shirts you want to use for the top of your groovy patchwork dress. And I needed some help with this because I really couldn't decide. I mean, they're all awesome. I was definitely partial to the paisley and the vintage floral. So I put a poll on my community tab and you guys absolutely wholeheartly agreed with me, and so I'm going to be going with the vintage floral that yeah, we all kind of agreed on, but your voting definitely pushed me over the edge to for sure go with this one. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm actually going to need all 3 of these to make the skirt of my dress. So I think for now I'm going to set aside the paisley one, because if I don't need it, I don't want to cut into it because I can use it for another awesome project that I have in mind. Okay, so we are now totally stepping outside of my comfort zone once again and doing something I have literally never done before to create the skirt here. But yeah, today we're going to try to do those kind of triangle panels and make a patchwork circle skirt to go on the bottom of our dress. And yeah, so let's just give it a go and see what happens. Okay, so first I thought, hey, I'm just gonna lay one shirt on top of the other and then cut out my triangular panels and I'll have it all cut out in one quick chop. But yeah, these shirts are not at all the same size, so I'm going to do them individually. So I've laid my bigger shirt out flat on the floor and I'm just gonna go ahead and chop out a triangle from each side, and that should then give me 4 triangles from each shirt. And I just noticed this one actually has a pocket here that's really hard to see because it blends in so well. So that's going to be really cool if I can manage to salvage that and keep it as a pocket. Okay, so I chopped out my kind of triangle-ish pieces. I mean, again, nothing has to be perfect at this point. I'm just in the figuring out stages, but it seems to be okay so far. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other shirt. Then I put all of my triangle-ish pieces on top of one another and chopped them so they were all the same length. So I've laid all of these out, and it would appear that I actually do need the other shirt. I don't know why I thought I wouldn't need it, but hey, more patchwork is always better. Okay, this looks much better now, and now I'm just gonna go stitch them all together with right sides facing, of course, and yeah, hopefully I'm gonna get it right and not mess up my pattern that I have going here. Stripes, plaid, paisley. Look at this. This was so successful. I don't even know. I really wasn't sure if it was gonna work, but it totally did. So once I had them all stitched together, and as I was stitching, I then took the time after I put each one on and I did chop the stitched edge here with my pinking shears just to help prevent fraying because I don't have a fancy serger. And once I had the very last one stitched on, I did, of course, stitch the open ends together to create my skirt. And I also did go ahead and hem up the bottom. So now we can go start working on the dress and putting it together. Yay! So as you can see, I now have my top shirt on and I have my skirt, and looking at this now, I really think I need to take this in because it is kind of huge. So I shall do that in a moment. But first I just really, and there's the jackhammering, yay. I just really want to measure here to see where do I want my skirt to be, and I think right about there is perfect. So, just grab a pin and pop it in there just to give it a basic marking. There we go. And yeah, now I'm just gonna trim this to size and then I'm gonna take it in. So yeah, let's go do that. But first, stay golden. So before I take in the sides of the shirt a little bit, I am going to trim it to my desired length. So now I have my shirt inside out and I have it folded in half pretty evenly with the shoulder seams and these sleeve armhole seams lined up. And I'm just going to chop off the sleeves. Doesn't have to be perfect at all at this point. Okay, so I have my sleeves cut off, I have it chopped to the length I want it to be, and I have grabbed a shirt that kind of has my ideal width to it. So I'm going to line up the collars here and line up the shoulder area as well. And then I'm just, let's see, how wide do I want this? All right, now all I have to do is pop a little pin in here, like so, and then I'm just going to stitch straight down from my pin mark. And then I'll go repeat the process on the other side of my shirt. Now, once you have both sides stitched, go ahead and try it on inside out to make sure that it is the fit that you want it to be. If everything is okay, then you can go ahead and remove that excess fabric. So now I have my shirt right side out, and I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with the sleeves yet. So let's move on to the skirt part. And of course, I'm going to do what I always do. Oh, right. So first, before doing anything, I did even up this edge, the top edge of my skirt. I just folded it in half and chopped it evenly because it wasn't super even. And now I'm just going to flip it inside out and put it over top of my right side out shirt, and then that way when it all flips down, everything will be with the right sides facing. So as it turns out, my top and my skirt actually line up pretty perfectly together, so I actually don't need to do any gathering or pin tucks or anything like that. So yeah, now I'm just going to go stitch them together. Now, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the sleeves, and I tried a couple of different things, but in the end, I just ended up chopping a couple of the leftover sleeves to size and stitching them back on. So now let's go try it on and style it up. This one is just too adorable. I mean, seriously, it is sickeningly saccharine, sweet, adorable, full of sugar and fructose syrup for sure. But that being said, it does match very, very well with my awesome dyed summer hat. And let me know what you think. Do you think I can, have this bag with it? Or is the bag too dark? I'm not sure. Let me know what you think, because I really love my awesome vintage bag so much. This shirt actually didn't have a collar, so I got a collar and I stitched it on. And yeah, it's kind of sat in my stash ever since, and it even moved internationally. So I think it's about time that this refashion got a better refashion. And so when I found it in my stash, I also discovered this t-shirt, and somebody tested out some markers on this t-shirt sleeve, and it wasn't me, let's just say that. But I think these colors are pretty cool together, so let's see if we can combine this shirt with this and, you know, get rid of my collar attempt here. And yeah, let's go see how we can put these together and hopefully make a pretty cool garment. We'll see. For this hopefully a quick and easy project, all you need is your less than stellar t-shirt, and this one has marker here on the sleeve for some reason, and it's just, you know, not looking so great in the armpit area anymore. And of course, your button-up shirt that coordinates well with the t-shirt. And I think these browns are going to be fantastic together. And the shirt says, "Isn't it lovely?" Isn't it lovely? So let's hope it's going to be. Okay, so for my first step, I thought, hey, I'll just fold this in half evenly and then chop it off so I just have the middle section left and the arms and sides will be gone. But because this is just a fast fashion t-shirt, and as we know, none of them are ever even or sewed evenly or anything, I think the best thing to do is to just lay it out flat and, you know, chop off the sides as best as I can and try to just keep my fingers crossed that they're going to be even. Okay, that actually came out better than I thought it was going to, so now I'm just going to fold this up nicely and set it aside and grab the other shirt. Okay, so I now have my button-up shirt and it's laid nice and flat. And this, by the way, is a very 70s polyester beauty that we have going on here. All right, now I'm going to grab that remaining part of my shirt, and I could simply line up the shoulder seams here and then chop off just the exact amount that I need to, you know, fill in the rest of this main part of the t-shirt. But I don't want to do that because I think I want to try to make this a little bit more generous, shall we say, and I'd like to have a bit more of the pocket remaining as well. So as I said, I do want to try to keep at least half of this pocket intact, and I simply folded this button-up shirt in half, and it was much easier to fold in half evenly and get all the wrinkles out than the fast fashion t-shirt. And I guess that's because this is vintage from the 70s and they just made things better back then. I don't know what it is, but it was a lot easier. So thankfully, this has lines on it, so I think I am just going to chop it off right here following this line, and then I will still have quite a bit of the pocket left. And ta-da! I have the center part chopped out, and I will, of course, put this in my stash and use it for something else at a later date, I'm sure. And you can kind of, I hope, get the idea of what my plan is here. And that is to simply add the center part of the t-shirt to these chopped sides of my other shirt. And I think that's going to come out and look pretty awesome. And then I have a whole new funky looking shirt. But before I do that, this fabric, this lovely polyester, definitely is fraying. So I'm just going to go and hem up these raw edges here because I don't want to have fraying edges on the inside of my shirt. Okay, so you can see here I have given the edges a lovely clean hem, and now we're gonna figure out how to stitch these together, and I'm thinking it's not gonna be that difficult, right? All right, so I have my center t-shirt piece inside out, and I have the graphic side facing down because, of course, we want the graphic side to match up with the pocket of the button-up side. Is this making sense? I hope so. All right, so now I'm going to take the t-shirt and the button-up shirt side here and line up those shoulder seams. Can we see this? Yes, we can see this. Okay, line up the shoulder seams with all of the right sides facing, and then I'm just going to have to go stitch all of that together. Okay, it is all stitched together, so let's flip out this side and see. It did. Oh my goodness, it actually worked. Again, I know I'm always so shocked when one of my ideas works, but I'm truly am shocked that it worked. I mean, it's a little bit pulley here, but most of the time after a wash, this all tightens up once again. But look, even the pocket worked out. So now it's time to repeat that whole process with the other side.
Okay, so both the sides are on, and I think this looks hilariously bad. But that's just me. If you like it, by all means, you can be totally finished with your version of it right now, and I give you all of my Refashionista blessings to wear it in good health. But for myself, for my personal style, nah, this isn't working for me. Like, it just doesn't. It's weird. And really, I think I made the sides a little bit too wide too, right? Like, that's pretty wide. And so for sure, this needs to be taken out. Oh, look, already that looks better, right? That already looks better. So I think I'm going to do that first. You know, get rid of these flippy flappy things. And it's just like chopping them and giving them a nice hem. That's it. Super simple. And then I'll see about taking in the sides or not, because that would be really easy too, right? Just like a kind of L-shape seam here on either side to take it in. I don't know. Let's do this first and then we'll see. All right, so it looks so much better with those flippy flappy sides removed and the lovely hem and everything, but it is still quite wide on me. So you know what I think we're gonna do? We're gonna go style this up properly and then see if I'm gonna take it in or not, because right now I'm just kind of, you know, threw it on. So let's go see what it looks like when it's properly styled. Okay, so now that this is styled with my awesomely amazing DIY distressed jeans, and of course that tutorial will be linked down below for you as always, I'm actually not minding this, and I do think it is very, very 90s grunge, especially seeing as how I styled it with my authentic 1990s beanie and sunglasses. And how do I know they're authentic? Because I've had them since about 1995, 1996. So this truly is a very, very grunge, authentic grunge look in my mind. Anyway, I could be wrong. I was not a grunge girl in the 90s whatsoever, although I did like myself some brightly colored plaid, just not in this style whatsoever. And here we are at the very first Refashionista Request tutorial. I am so excited for this, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I put the link down below to the form so you too can have your very own Refashionista Request dream DIY fulfilled. Dream DIY? I don't know, but I will do my best. Just pop to the form, fill it out, and if I have the ingredients, your request could actually appear in my very next Refashionista tutorial video. Anyway, this one comes from my fellow crafty, curvy creator, Crafty and Chic, and she would like a men's button-down tutorial to actually fit a more generous bust using lace that doesn't come across as kind of granny or matronly. So you know what? We're transforming this right now.
For this hopefully quick and easy project, all you need is your button-down shirt and a selection of lace. Now, I knew that I wanted to use this lace, but I didn't have enough of it, clearly. That's barely enough to go around one sleeve, so I just popped to the dollar store and got some more. You don't have to use expensive tools or fabrics or anything like that. If you already have it at home, use it up until there's barely anything left, and then pop to the thrift store, the dollar store, and replenish your stock. Nothing has to cost a lot of money when you are refashioning.
And here is the shirt that I have chosen, and it is actually a men's large, but it's a tailored fit. So if you can find something like that, that is absolutely fabulous, because I don't actually have to take in the sides at all on this one. And because you can see it's got that little bit of curve there already, so I don't have to worry about it looking too boxy or anything once it's totally been refashioned. So if you can find a tailored fit shirt that fits you loose enough that it's comfortable, by all means use that. But the very first thing we're going to do is simply pop a pin in the area where we would like the length of the shirt to be. Very, very simple. Also, please use a shirt that you can slip over your head to get it on and off, because we're going to stitch down here on the button placket, because it just, you know, any kind of button-up shirt, eventually you're going to be standing or sitting in a position where these spaces here, you can look, you can even get your whole hand in there. They're going to gap and gape. And that's just the nature of button-down, button-up shirts, right? You can't really do anything about it. So my solution is always to just stitch the button placket closed.
The length has been chopped and the button placket is stitched together. But of course, I did leave these top two buttons undone, and I of course made sure that I can get it on and off over my head comfortably. Now, one of the easiest ways to feminize or fancy up, if you will, a button-down shirt is to simply chop off the collar, and then you have a very funky looking little kind of Nehru collar at the end, and there's no sewing involved. It's just chopping off the collar. So first you need to make sure that it is nice and finished basically right here, and then you want to chop it as close to this collar seam as possible, not going over the seam, because if we don't have to sew anything, so much better. Just to recap, in this very, very short time, we have already transformed the collar, stitched the button placket so there won't be any more gaping, and chopped the length. And you know what? We are almost done, and we're almost to the funnest part, which is adding those quirky little lace details. But let's work on these sleeves, because we don't want to keep these sleeves as they are. And first I was thinking I could just chop these off the same way I did with the collar here, sticking really, really close to this finished edge of the sleeve, and then make a sleeveless top. But I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to have a little bit of a sleeve, so let's do that now. Because this is a fast fashion men's button-down dress shirt, it is just not folding in half nicely here, so I'm going to chop each sleeve individually, and even you can see it's still not laying flat, so we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope for the best here. And now I'm just going to use that chopped sleeve and use it as the template to chop the other sleeve, making sure everything's lined up as best as I can get it. Now it is time to do our lace, and you can just put this wherever the heck you want. You are embellishing your shirt for yourself. So you could put it all around the collar. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but that definitely would be adorable. You could put some over top of the pocket, but I think it's pretty necessary with this one to bind up all of these chopped edges here with this pretty lace. So I'm going to do the sleeves for sure, and I'm going to do the bottom hem, and we shall come back and see what else I decided to do. So I bound up the sleeves, I bound up the hem, and I did also go ahead and do the collar. And I added this very cutie patootie little vintage patch here to the pocket. So now we can finally try it on and style it up.
How gorgeous and fabulously feminized did this come out? I think I did an awesome job with that Refashionista Request from Crafty and Chic, and this whole video was just full of awesome upcycles and refashions for those button-up shirts in your wardrobe that maybe just aren't fitting you as they should. But you see, look at this. No gapping. I can stretch as much as I want here, and there's no gapping in the front, thanks to that wonderful little seam there. And I did think the collar just looks absolutely adorable. I'm so pleased with this. And that little patch just adds that Refashionista flair. And of course, my amazing scrap busted bangles, bracelets, wrap bracelets. It's like this. You can also wear it as a necklace if you want to. Very, very cool. And Skelly is over there making a bunch of noise, so I gotta wrap this up quick and take my boy for a walk. But the tutorial for this can be found in my awesomely, epically huge Refashioning 101 book, which of course you can buy the print version on Amazon if you want, but you can also get the ebook. Link will be down below, and then you can not have such a big book that doesn't fit in your pocket, right? But if you download the ebook, then you have all the goodness of Refashioning 101 that fits on your phone, and you can take it anywhere with you for those times when you just gotta refashion something. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag. And please send me your Refashionista tutorial requests. Link is down below.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.